Are we live? Oh, it's backwards. Oh, no, it's not. It's perfectly okay. All right, except that it's shiny. Oh, you know what? If I step back like this, I'm live. Good morning, everybody. Is this awesome? Is this just okay? Hang on a second. Hold this thought. I'm just going to turn the other screen on because I'm running a couple of minutes late, which means that I'm early. I'm early. All right, here we go. So click that. Try again. Click that. And then click it. And then click clock. It says that it's about 3 minutes to 10. And I hope you're all here. I hope you're all watching. Vern, you got a notification. Good heavens, Vern, don't startle me like that. How did that happen? It wasn't me. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, human beings of all descriptions, I did this thing. I have access to one of these places that prints things. You can put just about anything on anything. And I took my idea for the Pivot Mastery book series, and I just made it into a little notebook. But I wanted to see, before I, got really serious about this particular cover, what it looked like. And it's really shiny, you can tell, because it's catching all the light. But if I go back far enough, oh there, see? It's product hand model here, formerly. Okay, there. Is it gorgeous? I think it's really, really elegant. And that's not, yeah, I'm going to put different things on the cover in terms of what it's saying. But I think the purpley blue, and I think the marble and the gold fleck and the shades of different shades of cloud and gray, I think they're really awesome, don't you? I think they're stunning. All right, it's enough about that. Let's talk about you. Vern, I saw that, but my thought, Jean, was that I'm older than I'm not only awake, I'm officially older than All right, listen, children. You don't get to... Gern, you woke up early just for me. Well, honey, thank you. This is awesome. Thank you, Gern. Thank you, Vern. Thank you, Jean. And Vern, for no reason that I understand, got a notification. Alrighty then. All right, so here we are. Here we are, and here I am, and why is that doing that? All right. Well, everybody, it's 10 o'clock, and it is Thursday, the 10th of March, which means that we have 21 days until birthday month. Unless, of course, you're going by the whole zodiac thing, in which case we really only have 10 days until the turn from whatever this is to the month of the tiger. Aries is the month of the tiger this year. Okay, so I had this odd thing happen yesterday, and I want to talk to you about it because I think it's important that I share these things when they come along, because I know that I sometimes come across as all perky all the time, and nobody, not even me, nobody is perfect and perfectly perky all the time. Everybody has their downtimes. Excuse me, my shirt just got kind of mangled there. So I'm able to be technically challenged and channeled quite often, and the reason is because I don't think in linear stuff. I'm relentlessly logical, but I kind of dance around the ifs and thens and therefores. And technology is predicated on some of the most linear stuff. So I went on my website to figure out where I'm going to put the whole pivotry thing, because I had started working on the website, the Story Me TV website. I started working on it last year, of course, and I hadn't even thought of this idea. And when I got there, I had a notice that there were people who had become administrators on my site. And I thought to myself, no. And so I went and looked it up, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. That's not a surprise. but I really couldn't figure out how to fix it. And while I am very clear on the things that I do less well than many, I'm not dumb. I can put things together, and I spent hours on it, and I couldn't figure it out. And the oddest thing happened. I began to feel two things. I began to feel anxious, and I began to feel tired. Emotionally tired, physically tired, mentally tired, all three. And that didn't make any sense. I had struggled with something, and it wasn't working, and I knew perfectly well that later today or tomorrow, I can pick up the phone and call whomever my hosting people are and say, hi, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you fix it? And of course they'll, metaphorically pat me on the head and fix it. Something else was going on, and I didn't like it. I really didn't like it, because it was not the me I usually am. And then I thought, after a while, that I had spent quite a lot of time reading up on things that are going birthday stuff. It's because I like to have context. I like to know how the world in general, at least within stone's throwing of my various puddles, how my world is doing, so that when I'm talking to people, I'm not horrifically tone deaf. I'm not dancing and singing when there's been a disaster. And so I had spent rather longer than usual checking out my sources, my different sources. I have about 5 different news feeds that I check in on periodically, because sifting through all of them, the ones that seem to have the least obvious bias. And then you just, you mix and match like you're making soup. And I hadn't realized how much that had maybe affected my energy. And then I read a post from a really, really lovely friend of mine. I've known her for years. And she was saying, this was the day before, that she had gone to her first event post-COVID, officially, that had a lot of people at it. And she was all excited. She was keen to go. And she noticed that when she was doing her makeup and she was doing her eyeliner, that her hand was shaking. And she's outgoing and fabulous and manages public events like, she was born. And it was odd for her to feel that way. Excuse me a second. Good morning, Steve. Nice to see you. She was saying that she's been in the public eye, she's been in the media, she's been a journalist, she's traveled a lot, she's a military brat like me. She is as involved in communities and events and stuff as they come. And she hadn't been. And she said it suddenly occurred to her, of all people, she was saying, that she was feeling tinges of social anxiety. And this was something that had never happened to her before. So when I read that, I thought, yeah, that certainly makes sense. We've been away from everything for a while, and then we can come back, and now we can't, and we can come back, and now we can't. And if we haven't been paying attention to how that makes us feel, we just kind of log it away. And to my way of thinking, I talk about the fact that we really have three operating brains going on. We have the back of the brain, which I call the cave brain, that is all the very basic, primal fight, flight, freeze, hide, comply, emotional responses to things that we have always used to survive since the cave days. And then we have the stage manager brain, which is here, and it's got perspective and says, okay, in 3, 2, 1, lean to the left. And then we have actor brain who says, okay, why? And the stage manager brain said, well, it looked like that was going to be an alligator. In the meantime, a cave brain has been given, alligator, run. So we have all these brains, and for most of us in the West, for most of us who have been out of the line of fire of horrific events and immediate connection to no hurricanes where I am, no ice storms of a significant nature this year, knock wood. So we haven't really got any wiring that the cave brain can look up, that the strategic brain can reference, that the actor brain can do anything but kind of to do with social anxiety. And what if it's not safe? It should be safe. I used to do this all the time. So it's a real glitch. It's a real disconnect. What it feels like to me when it happens to me is emotionally what happens when you think you've taken the last step on a set of stairs and then there's one more, and you kind of have that thing go on and you grab the banister and you think, oh gee, now, I mean, it's that much, you weren't going to die, but the expectation was the eagle has landed. That one extra step was or not, and everything is out of whack, out of balance. And I think that my friend is really onto something. And I think this uncertainty that we have been living with has made us uncertain in how to read the signals we're getting, because we haven't had to read any for a while. And it's kind of like falling off a bicycle. Once you do it the next time, you remember, oh yeah, that's how that works, and I need Band-Aids with me next time. We're out of practice. We're simply out of practice. So every next thing that's going to happen in the next little while that makes us feel unsettled or off balance is from that, is from us being out of practice. We're not going to all rush out and hug everybody, unless of course you're a hugger, in which case I'm not a hugger. I'm only child. Who do you hug? But I certainly understand that it's going to feel crazy that we're at the beginning of a learning curve when the thing we're learning is something we've known how to do for years, for decades. And I think that is sitting kind of in the middle of everything. I think we're feeling that all the time, in sort of in the way if you accidentally leave the back burner on top of the stove on, just on low. You walk away and you come back and you think, oh, it's warm. Something's warm. And there it is. It's just a back burner kind of that is firing gently in the back of our brains. And then when we add one thing that we didn't expect to this layer of, I don't know what I'm doing, it's really unsettling. There was no reason for me to get so overwhelmed yesterday. There was no reason at all. And later, after I'd had dinner, got some food into me, I went back and looked at it, And I did some digging, I did some research, and I found the way to fix it. And it maybe took me 10 minutes. But I had stepped away, and I'd done something else. I'd eaten some food. I'd relaxed. I had chosen not to watch scary, horrific stuff on the tube. I had just allowed myself to breathe and, look at stuff and sit back and think, I wonder what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then doorbell rang, and it was the delivery truck with the sample notebook, the sample cover of Pivot Mastery cover art. And it was a really small thing, but it made a huge difference because I hold in my hand. I hold in my hand the thing that I was only holding in my head. Makes a big difference. I brought it out of my head and into my hands. And now it feels like we're really going somewhere. So I wanted to talk about this feeling of uncertainty early because a lot of us aren't talking about it. And if we don't talk about it, and I don't mean nonstop, I mean if we're not aware of it and we don't acknowledge it, it's easy for us to forget that other people are coping with it too. Other people are feeling off balance. And it's entirely possible that other people could be short with you. They could have an edge in their voice. They could not hear you, think they answered but didn't. All those things that make us feel like we're not quite getting it right. And that's a terrible feeling. And Garen has just corrected my pronunciation on his name. Garen, I apologize. I apologize profusely. I have dealt with Hagyard all of my life. And there's something about the GY thing that makes everybody go, what is that? And I get haggard. I don't look haggard as I have been called. I get haggard. And on one memorable day, you may appreciate this, I got called hugwump. For no, it was a teacher. And I said, what? And she said, Miss Hugwump, isn't it? And then looked down at the page and said, oh, no, it isn't that at all, is it? Well, how do you say it? Smith. So I apologize, Karen. Now, I need to talk to you about what happens with GPS systems when you don't entirely trust technology. So here's the thing. I'm trying to lead up to a really embarrassing story. It's not far enough in the distance for it to be oh ha ha yet. Hopefully it'll get there. So the GPS thing, the thing in your car, in 50 meters, turn left. In 50 meters, turn left. I want a GPS that goes, hi, I'm not sure, but in 50, is that meters? Yeah, okay. In 50 meters, you need to turn. What do you mean, which way? I don't know. Can we just see when we get there? I want that GPS. I think that GPS would make me feel a lot better about myself personally. And if it was a male GPS, if there was a male voice, the only thing that GPS is ever going to say is, I know a shortcut. And if you have the male GPS function, you need to always pack an overnight bag and extra food. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. So Here's what happened to me. Um, in the province of Quebec, it has been my experience that many of the road signs uh, are conversational talking points intended for use sometime in the future. They don't always intend for you to think that you should be paying attention to what they're saying in the now. This is my feeling. Probably wrong, but it's based on my experience saying, oh, it says turn here. And then there's actually no turn possible. You think, okay, so, but it said turn here. Thing says turn right in 50 meters. There's no turn. There's no turn. There's a fence. Okay. So what you find out later is that the GPS is outdated and it's asking you to turn where you could turn before the fence was up. Okay. That happened to me. And it was because of that, and I was late getting to the place that I needed to go, because I'm only ever obsessively early when I do shows, when I present, when I'm participating, interacting with audiences, because they're the most important person in the room and I can be late later. So anyway, I was trying to get to this place and turn right in 50 meters, and you couldn't. There was a fence. And so I drove for about a year and a half, and when I was able to turn right, I just kept turning right until I made it around the back side of the place I was supposed to be going and snuck up on it when it wasn't looking. So as a result of that, I was feeling less than trusting of my GPS. And I had it updated. Like you can buy a thing and plug it in and it goes, and then it's supposed to be fine. So here's what happened. I bought an article of clothing online. It arrived and it was just about nearly almost perfect. Not quite. So it needed to be altered. And I really liked it. It just, the part that didn't fit, it had an arm that came up here or something. So I didn't know where to go. So I went to the local dry cleaners. I was visiting friends in Quebec. I don't know anything. And my French is as good as my singing. So I do my best, and then people, please. So I went to the dry cleaners, and I had the thing. And I said, hi, where I live, in Ottawa, I have a dry cleaner, and they do alterations. Do you do alterations? And the woman said, no, we had someone. And I said, you had someone? You don't have them anymore? No. Okay. Do you know anyone? She says, yes, I know the man who was here. But he's not here now. No. Is he still doing alterations? Yes, of course. I see. Do you know where he's doing them? Yes, of course. I have his card. Okay. Gives me the card. Do I phone him? And she said, yes, you must make an appointment. Do you not make the appointments in Ottawa? Yeah. So I go home and I phone, and the man says, oh yeah, sure. You have my card from the dry cleaners. Yes. He said, okay, sure. So he makes the time, 10 o'clock, and he said, we'll see you then. So again, the day I was going, I was running a little late. Suddenly looked at the time, went, Gah! Grabbed everything, grabbed the card, grabbed my phone with the GPS in it, got in the car, started the car, and I'm looking at the card, and because I've programmed it in, the address, and the GPS is telling me to turn another way. And I'm thinking, but that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. I have the phone number, I have and so I ignored the GPS. I thought, I've already done a thing with a fence. So I'm, looking at the card, and I'm trying to figure out where it is, because I can kind of remember the street name, and and it's even side of the street, odd side of the street, it's an odd number. Okay, so I get to a corner and I make sure nobody's coming and I whip around and I drive up and I see the building and it's one of those little, 5-store things on the road, and I pull in and I'm looking at the number on the card as I grab the thing and I grab my purse and I got the number and I said, okay, and I'm running like a mad fool, like my pants are on fire, to run up to this mall. And I'm looking at the numbers and it's the middle door, because there's the number right there, it's the middle door. And I run up to the door and I put my hand on the handle and I yoink it and I practically pull my arm out of the socket because it's locked. And I'm thinking, well, it can't be locked. And I'm looking at the phone and it says that it's the right time. In fact, I'm 5 minutes late. And I'm thinking, what, 5 minutes and they lock the door? And I oh, maybe it's a push. And I push. It's locked. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, well, how can I look around and I look around. And then I looked up. And it didn't say thing, who's it, alterations. It said XXX kiss. And then I stepped back, and to the left was a bar called Le Dregs, and then XXX Kiss, and then over here was a tattoo parlor, and over there was a motel with pickup trucks parked. And I walked back to my car. Now, 3 things are going on in my head. The first one is that on the off chance that anyone knows me, and I have a fairly distinctive car, anyone knows me, and then of course there's this, has seen me pull a U-turn at high speed, cross 4 lanes of traffic, scream to a halt, leap out of my car, and race like the hounds of hell are behind me, and grab hold of a sex boutique door and rattle and shake it trying to get in. So I'm in the car and I'm thinking, I don't know, because you know what's going to happen? Here's what's going to happen. One day, in the future, I'm going to be in the middle of something really important. I'm going to be pitching an amazing idea to an incredible sponsor. Somebody at the pitch meeting is going to say, you know who you look like? There was this... And I will just have to say, oh, that's my twin sister. We've pretty much turned our backs on her and leave the room. So when I got to the car and I called the place and I said, you're not at thing highway. And he said, oh, no, we're moving there next month. Yeah, where are you? And he said, well, I gave you the directions. And I said, yeah, do you want to give them to me again? And I took out my notebook and I wrote them down, and it was completely in the opposite. It was over there, and I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm going to be late. It's all right, slow day. Is it? And I drove over, and I went in, and I said, do you know you're going to be moving there next month? Have you been there? I mean, did a friend of yours that you humiliated in college pick the place? Have you been there? And he said, why? And I said, well, you're going to open an alteration store in an area, frankly, that people are not going to assume you fix prom gowns. Really? And the guy's wife came out and smacked him on the arm and said, I told you. So, GPSically speaking, I am damaged goods. My uncertainty levels are so high off the charts that I I don't really know whether to believe them or just print off Google and do the whole map, try not to kill myself while I'm reading the map into the face of oncoming traffic. But I've only had the most fascinating experiences with this particular technology that doesn't seem to have a great problem for most other people that I've met. So I'm thinking this is one of those life lessons that is teaching me something. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for all the lessons. I would just like to, whoever it is, excuse me a second, whoever it is who's doing the lessons, I would like you to stop hinting because Jean says I don't have a GPS. Well, I want the one that's an airhead. Hi, this is your GPS. We'll be flying at an altitude of 35,000 feet today. I want that GPS because I will feel so much better. Okay, now, as we are inching up on the closing of this particular episode, I wanted you to know that this is my 20th episode in 2022, and I did 10 at the end of 2021, so really it's 30 episodes, and I'm gradually getting to a place where I'm sitting back farther, and I'm trying to get the lighting better, and I'm trying to remember my props and not fall off the chair, so I think there's hope for this. With regard to the Pivot Mastery series, I think it's really exciting that we have the 4 different books. And what I'm going to be doing, I've interviewed several of you because I love some of the stories that I've heard over the months and years that we've known each other or known each other on Facebook, is that I'm going to get back to you for, confirming a few things, and also to ask you which of the books you think your story belongs, because we have, Pivot to Live, we have Pivot to Love, we have Pivot to Learn, and we have Pivot to Last. And I think Pivot to Live is really not necessarily about saving our own lives, but living a better quality of life, doing more for ourselves, being gooder to us than we have been, going for things that we weren't sure we should. Pivot to Love is choosing something or someone or some situation that just all by itself every day makes the sky a little bluer and less weight on our shoulders. Pivot to Learn is when we realized that we needed to know more, and probably still do. For instance, that whole thing with the GPS, that would be my Pivot to Learn, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all shapes and sizes. I think that learning is the long curve. And the last category, Pivot to Last, is the one I see in terms of career and business and, buying a home. Is this a first house? Is it a temporary? Is it an in-between? Is it military housing? Or is it a forever home intention? A career, a job, a business, a way of life. Depending on the conversations that we had, I have my ideas, but I obviously need to hear yours. So what I really hope that will happen is, because I have 4 books now, plus the workbook, is that more of you will reach out, because I have room for more stories. And I want to include them. And I would love it if you would reach out and say, I kind of want to talk to you about this whole Pivot Mastery thing. I'll tell you a story and you'll tell me if it's the kind of thing you're looking for. And then maybe we can add you or add whatever portion that you think is okay. All right? Okay, so a couple of things are happening next week. I'm going to be competing next week with St. Patrick's Day, and that's on Thursday. On Tuesday, it's the Ides of March. So it's going to be what I like to call challenging. And I think we're all going to be doing a fair amount of pivoting, because if the Ides won't get you, St. Pat will. All right, so in the meantime, between now and then, double check your GPS and make sure it's up to date. Make sure you look at the buildings you're running into before you try the door. Give yourselves permission to take a longer breath when things are happening that feel like they're blindsiding you. Because I'm telling you, it's not just you. All of us are kind of scrambling to figure out where we are right now. All of us are trying on our social insecurity pants and discovering that they're too small. That diet, losing all that weight by Friday, didn't work. So it's okay to sneak up on it. It's okay to feel a little off. You have my full permission to take a deep breath. You have my full permission to remember the one important thing of all, and that is to be good to your cave brain. When things don't feel right and you feel panicky, take the deep breath and just quietly say, we're safe. We're safe. And let the cave brain calm down, because it's doing its best, but sometimes its best is a little scary. Okay? So some Dr. Haggard's home remedies and some Abbey train wrecks and some exciting designs for the future that I can leave you with. And until next time, like and share. We're still holding at 68 subscribers to the YouTube, so I'm going to post the YouTube link. And if you have a chance over the weekend to talk to any friends and say, you got to subscribe to this. She's a nut job, but we love her. Okay? And because we want to get those numbers up. So like and share this. See if you can nudge some people into subscribing to the YouTube. And after that, be good to you. Okay? Take the deep breaths. And don't forget to hug your loved ones. They deserve it. See you next time.